Eliza Harper pressed her bloody palm against the splintered barnwood and swore right there in the dust that Walter Kane would have to kill her before he ever touched her again. The summer heat was cooking the Montana prairie dry, and every breath tasted like iron. Hooves were already hammering closer behind her. She had maybe a minute, maybe less. If this kind of story moves you, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and stay with me all the way to the very last word. And leave a comment with the city you're watching from so I can see how far Eliza's story has traveled tonight. Eliza's legs finally gave out 3 steps past the corner of the barn. She went down on her knees, then forward onto her hands, and the blood from her sides soaked through the torn gray cotton of her dress until the fabric was stuck to her ribs like a second skin. Her own voice, thin and shaking, came out of her before she could stop it. Slow, slow. Like Mama taught you. Mama had been dead 4 years. Mama had taught her a lot of things before Walter put her in the ground. The hooves were not close yet. Not close, but closer than they'd been when she'd cut off the main road and bolted through the wheat. 2 riders, maybe 3. Walter never came himself. Walter sent the Dawson boys, and the Dawson boys liked their work. God. Eliza whispered her forehead against her arm. I ain't asking to live. I'm asking to die somewhere they won't find me. A door creaked on the other side of the barn. She froze. Boots hit the dirt, slow, patient. Not the hurried stomp of a man searching, the walk of a man who owned the ground he was standing on. Then a voice low and rough around the edges. Whoever you are, you best come out. I ain't gonna ask twice. Eliza pressed harder against the boards. Her fingers closed around a rusted nail half pried loose from the wood. She worked it the rest of the way free with hands that would not stop shaking. It wasn't a weapon. Not really. But it was sharper than nothing. I said come out. The boots came around the corner and stopped. Mister, she said, and hated how small her voice sounded. I'll leave. Don't call out. Don't call nobody. I'll leave right now. Look at me. No, sir. Miss, look at me. She lifted her head 1 inch, saw a man tall enough to throw shadow over her whole body, one hand resting easy on the colt at his hip. The other hand was empty, lifted, open, the way a man gentled a horse. I ain't gonna hurt you, he said. That's what they all say. Reckon it is. A pause. You're bleeding, ma'am. I know. That your blood? Yes. All of it. A sound came out of her that was almost a laugh. It hurt. Yes. He crouched down slow, never coming closer than 6 feet. His knees cracked. He winced at the sound like a man who'd been thrown off a horse 1 too many times. What's your name? Don't matter. Figured you'd say that. He took his hat off, set it on the ground beside him. Name's Cole Bennett. This here's my ranch. 400 acres south to the Milk River. I ain't married, I ain't got kin living with me, and I ain't seen another soul on this property in 6 days. You're safe here. For now. I don't believe you. Didn't ask you to. The hooves were louder now, maybe a quarter mile out. Cole's eyes flicked toward the sound, and she saw his whole body change. Not afraid. Readied. That for you? He asked. Yes. How many? 2, maybe 3. Got names? Dawson, the Dawson brothers. And maybe my... Her throat closed. She couldn't get the word out. You're what, ma'am? My stepfather. Cole was quiet a long beat. Walter Kane. Her eyes snapped up. You know him. Everybody this side of Helena knows him. He set his hat back on his head. Lord have mercy. Please. She tried to stand, couldn't. Grabbed at the wood and hauled herself up anyway. Please, mister, I'll go right now. Whatever he offers, he'll pay it. But you don't want what comes with that money. Miss, you ain't going nowhere. I have to. You can't stand up straight. I can. No, ma'am, you can't. Look down. She looked. The dirt beneath her was dark, wet. A pool the size of a dinner plate and spreading. Her knees buckled. Cole caught her under the arm before she hit the ground. His grip was hard. The moment she flinched, he let go like she'd burned him. "Ma'am, don't touch me." All right, but you're fixing to bleed out behind my barn, and them riders are gonna be on my property in about 90 seconds. So I need you to listen to me close." She nodded. "Tight. Small. You trust me?" "No." "Good. Smart woman." Something almost like a smile passed across his face and was gone. "But I'm gonna ask you to lie down behind them oat sacks, and I'm gonna cover you with a horse blanket, and you're gonna stay still as death till I come back. Can you do that?" "Why?" "Because I don't like Walter Kane." "That ain't enough." The hooves were louder. The gate hinges groaned open. "Miss," Cole said soft, "my wife and my little girl got beat to death by a man not unlike Walter Kane 8 years ago this October. So no, it ain't enough. But it's what I got." She stared at him. Her lip trembled. She hated herself for it. "Go," she whispered. He went. She dragged herself on hands and knees to the feed stall, pressed her body flat against the boards, pulled the blanket over her head, and bit down on the inside of her cheek to keep from making a sound when the rough wool dragged across the cut. Then she heard the voice. "Bennett, Cole Bennett." Her blood went cold. It was not one of the Dawson boys. It was Walter. She had not expected him to come himself. Walter never came himself. Walter had come himself. "Afternoon?" Cole's voice outpassed the barn, easy as a man stepping onto his own porch. "Help you gentlemen with something?" "Looking for a girl." Walter's voice. Flat. Reasonable. The voice he used in church. The voice he used at the bank. The voice he used right before he did something terrible. 23 years old. Brown hair. Gray dress. She'd have come through here on foot in the last hour. "Ain't seen nobody." "You sure, Mr. Bennett?" "Pretty sure, Mr. Kane." "Kane, that name's supposed to mean something to me." A chuckle. Short. Ugly. "Folks around here know who I am." "I ain't folks around here. I keep to my land." "Reckon you do." A long pause. "The girl stole from me, Mr. Bennett. Money, jewelry, things that belong to my late wife. I'd be much obliged if you let me and my boys look through your barn." "No." "Beg pardon." I said no. Eliza could hear her own heart. She was sure Walter could hear it too. She pressed her fist against her teeth and bit down until she tasted blood. "Mr. Bennett," Walter's voice had dropped, "I don't think you understand who you're talking to." "I understand plenty." "You got a woman in that barn?" A long, long beat. And then Cole Bennett said, calm as still water, "Yes, sir, I do." Eliza stopped breathing. "Well then, her name's Eliza Bennett," Cole said. "She's my wife, and she don't much care for strangers on the property." Silence. The kind of silence a gun makes right before it goes off. "Your wife." "That's what I said." "Mr. Bennett, the girl I'm looking for, is my stepdaughter, Eliza Harper, and she ain't married to nobody." "You sure about that?" "I raised her." "Raised her, did you?" Cole's voice had not changed, but there was a wire underneath it now pulled tight. "See, Mr. Kane, my wife came to this ranch 8 days ago. We was wed Tuesday last, before a preacher, before a witness. I got the paper up at the house if you'd like to read it." Eliza's mouth fell open under the blanket. He was lying. He was lying to Walter Kane's face. People did not lie to Walter Kane. "I want to see her." "No, sir." "I want to see her." "I said no, Mr. Kane. My wife took a fall off a horse yesterday. She's resting. She ain't taking visitors, especially men who claim to be her kin, but didn't know she got married." "You son of a—" "Mr. Kane." Cole's voice went lower, gentler, the way a man spoke to a rattlesnake that hadn't rattled yet. "I'm going to ask you once to get off my land." "Or what?" "Or I'm going to put you off." A horse shifted. A throat cleared. The tension out there was so thick it was coming through the barn wood. "Mr. Bennett," Walter said, "you just bought yourself a whole world of trouble." I've been in trouble before. Not. We'll see. I'll be back with the sheriff. Bring him. Bring the whole town. Bring the governor if you've a mind. My wife ain't going nowhere, and you ain't stepping one boot in this barn." Walter was quiet. And then Eliza heard the worst sound in the world. Worse than the leather. Worse than Mama's last breath. Worse than any of it. She heard Walter laugh, soft, amused, almost fond. "All right, Mr. Bennett. All right. You keep my girl warm for me tonight. But you tell her something from her daddy. You tell her." His voice dropped to something almost tender. "I know where every preacher in this county sleeps, and I know where every witness eats his supper. And a wedding paper ain't worth nothing if the folks who signed it can't sign no more. You understand me, Mr. Bennett?" "I understand." "Good. You have a fine evening, sir." Horses turning, hooves moving off, the gate creaking open, creaking shut. And then they were gone. Eliza lay under the blanket and shook. She shook for a long, long time. When Cole finally pulled the blanket back, his voice was quiet. "Miss, why'd you say that?" "Had to say something. You said I was your wife." "Yes, ma'am." "I ain't your wife, Mr. Bennett." "I know it." "You just put a target on your own back." "I know that too." She pushed herself up on one elbow. Her side screamed. A sound came out of her that she did not mean. Cole's hand lifted halfway, then dropped, because he remembered she did not want to be touched. "Ma'am, I gotta look at that cut." "No." "You're gonna die if I don't." "Then I'll die." "Miss Harper." "Don't call me that name." He stopped, swallowed. "What do you want me to call you?" "Nothing. Don't call me nothing." "All right." Silence. She could hear horses moving in the front stalls. She could hear her own breath. She could hear the small, awful sound her heart was making, like it had forgotten how to beat right. "Mr. Bennett?" "Yes, ma'am." "He's coming back." "Yes, ma'am." "He's gonna kill you." "Possible." "He's gonna find a preacher. He's gonna find a witness. He's gonna ask them if they signed a paper, and they're gonna say no, and then he's gonna kill them anyway for knowing the question was asked. And then he's gonna come for you, and then he's gonna take me back. And when he takes me back, Mr. Bennett, he's gonna do things to me that you don't have words for." Cole's jaw tightened. "Reckon I got some words, ma'am." "Then you know why I told you to let me go?" "I know why you said it. And you still won't—" "No, ma'am." "Why?" He looked at her a long time. His eyes were the tired brown of a man who had stopped expecting good news a long time ago. "Because 8 years ago," he said, "I was 3 miles from my house when a man like Walter Kane walked through my front door. And I have spent every day since wondering what would have happened if I'd been the kind of man who stayed home. Or the kind of man who paid attention. Or the kind of man who said yes when my wife asked me for help, instead of no because I was too proud and too busy and too damn sure nothing bad ever happened to people like us." He stopped, swallowed. "I don't get to save her. She's gone. But I'll tell you what. As long as you're bleeding behind my barn, I'm home. I'm paying attention. And the answer is yes." Her eyes burned. She did not cry. She had not cried since Mama died. She would not cry now. "I don't want to be saved, Mr. Bennett." "Then don't be saved. Get saved later. Right now, just let me look at that cut." She looked at him. She looked at him for a long moment, and then Eliza Harper, who had sworn she would never let another man put his hands on her again, lifted her torn sleeve 1 inch and whispered the first honest word she had spoken in 4 years. "Okay." He worked quiet. He did not speak while he cleaned the cut, and he did not speak while he wrapped it, and every time she flinched, he stopped until she nodded for him to keep going. When he tied the last knot in the strip of torn shirt, she realized her whole body was trembling, and she did not know when it had started. "Ma'am, don't. I gotta ask you something, and I gotta ask you now." "Don't ask." "He's going to town to find a preacher who didn't marry us, and a witness who didn't sign nothing. And when he don't find them, he's gonna come back here with the sheriff and a warrant and a rope. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. Then you understand there's only one way the lie holds. She closed her eyes. No. Miss. No, we ride to town at first light. We find a preacher who ain't in Walter Kane's pocket. We sign a paper. Real names. And when he comes back tomorrow evening, that paper is the truth, and there ain't a court in this territory can give you back to him. You don't know me, Mr. Bennett. I know enough. You don't. Ma'am, with all respect, I don't need to. I need you alive. You can hate me tomorrow. You can hate me the rest of your life. But I can't watch another woman bleed to death under my own roof because I was too polite to do the one thing that'd keep her breathing. Her hands were fists. Her jaw was locked. And what happens after? She whispered. When he's dead, when the law is sorted, what happens to me then? Mr. Bennett, am I your wife? Am I your property? Is that the trade? One owner for another? He did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was so quiet she almost didn't hear it. After, he said, you walk out that door any direction you please and I won't follow. Paper or no paper, my word on it. Men's words ain't worth much, sir. No, ma'am, they ain't. But it's all I got to give you tonight. She was about to answer him. She would never know what she was about to say. Because out past the barn, past the gate, past the wagon road, Walter Kane had just ridden down, came the sound of another horse. One horse, coming fast. Cole's head came up sharp. Mr. Bennett. Her voice had gone flat. Calm. The calm of a woman who had already understood. He didn't go to town. No, ma'am. He went to fetch somebody. Yes, ma'am. The rider was at the gate now, dismounting, calling out in a voice that was friendly and easy and wrong. Cole Bennett. It's Sheriff Dobbs. I got a situation we need to talk about, son. Open up now. Eliza's hand closed around Cole's wrist for the first time. Hard. He owns the sheriff, she whispered. I know it. He owns him, Mr. Bennett. I know. And Cole Bennett, without taking his eyes off the barn door, reached slow and easy for the Colt at his hip. Cole's hand stopped halfway to the Colt. Don't, Eliza whispered. You draw on a sheriff, you hang tomorrow. He ain't a real sheriff if he's Walter's man. He's real enough to put a noose on your neck. Put your hand down, Mr. Bennett, please. His fingers hovered, then dropped. Cole, Dobbs called again, friendly as Sunday. I can see smoke from your chimney, son. Don't make me stand out here in the heat. Cole turned his head 1 inch toward her. Back under the blanket. Don't breathe, don't move. If he comes in, he comes in. I'll handle what comes. Mr. Bennett. Eliza. It was the first time he had said her name. She went still. Under the blanket, he said. Now, she crawled, fast as her ribs would let her. She pressed herself flat against the oat sacks and pulled the wool over her head, and she made herself smaller than she had ever been, smaller than she was when Walter came home drunk, smaller than she was the night Mama stopped breathing. She made herself a thing that did not exist. The barn door creaked. Afternoon, Sheriff. Cole, son, you're a hard man to get a visit with. Always have been. Heard you got yourself married. Word travels. Word travels when Walter Kane puts it in the saddle and rides it to town personal. Footsteps on the barn floor. 2 men, one set heavier, one set easier. Eliza could feel them through the wood. Kane's at my office right now, Dobbs said, drinking my coffee and telling me a story I don't much care for. He says you got his girl, says she's hurt, says you're fixing to hide her behind a marriage that don't exist. That's so. He wants me to search your barn, Cole. No, son. I said no, Bill. A long silence. You gonna make me do this the hard way? I'm gonna make you do it the legal way. You got a warrant. I don't need a warrant for a stolen property search when a citizen swears out a complaint. You do on private land. You do on a ranch. You do when the property in question is a grown woman and the citizen complaining is the man she ran away from. Dobbs did not answer. How long you known me, Bill? 11 years. I ever lie to you? No. I ever cheat a man? No. I ever hit a woman or raise my hand to a child or let a drunk sleep in my barn so he wouldn't freeze? No, Cole. Then you look me in my eye right now and you tell me whose side you're on. Another silence. Longer. Eliza could hear Dobbs breathing. She could hear the leather of his gun belt when he shifted his weight. Cole. Yes, sir. Kane's a bad man. Yes, sir. Kane's also got 400 head of cattle, 2 banks in his pocket, and a brother-in-law who's a territorial judge. I know it. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, I want you to understand I am telling you as a friend, not as a sheriff. You hear me? I hear you. That girl is going to be dead inside a week. Don't matter if she's in your barn or in his house or on a train to California. He's done with her. She knows something she ain't supposed to know, or she saw something she ain't supposed to see, and he has decided she don't get to keep breathing. So whatever you think you're doing here, whatever knight in shining armor foolishness you got cooking, you put it down. You hand her over. You let me take her to town. I will put her in a cell where he cannot reach her, and I will wire the marshal in Helena, and this thing gets settled with federal men. You understand? Eliza stopped breathing. Federal men. The sheriff was offering her federal men. Under the blanket, her whole body went cold with the want of it. To be taken somewhere with a lock on the door and a man with a badge that Walter Kane could not buy. To sleep. To sleep for one night without listening for boots. She almost moved. She almost threw the blanket off and stood up and said yes. Take me now. And then Cole Bennett said very quietly, Bill, you wired the marshal yet? Not yet. You gonna silence? You gonna bill? Cole, because if you was gonna wire the marshal, you'd have wired him before you rode out here. You'd have wired him this morning when Kane walked into your office. The fact that you ain't wired him yet tells me you ain't fixin' to. The fact that you're standing in my barn, asking me to hand a bleeding woman over to you, tells me Kane paid you before he paid his respects. So I'm gonna ask you again, Bill, and this time I want the true answer. A pause. Whose side are you on? Eliza squeezed her eyes shut. I'm on my own side, Cole, Dobbs said finally. Same as everybody. Then get off my ranch. Son, get off my ranch, Bill. If I leave here without that girl, Kane is gonna come back with 20 men and a torch, and there ain't a thing in this county can stop him. Then I'll stop him myself. You'll die. Reckon I will. Dobbs was quiet a long time. She heard him take a step, then another, then stop. Cole. Yes, sir. Is she worth it? I don't know her, Bill. Then why? Because somebody should have done it for my Sarah, and nobody did, and I have had to live with that, and I ain't living with it twice. The sheriff did not answer. The boots turned and walked out. The barn door closed. A horse mounted up. A horse rode off. Eliza lay under the blanket and shook, and she did not come out. Even when Cole crouched down beside her. Even when he said her name. She could not move. Her body had forgotten how. Eliza, he offered me federal men. He did. He offered me a cell. He did. I almost said yes. I know. Why didn't he mean it? Cole was quiet. Because if he meant it, he said he'd have wired them this morning. A man who means to protect a woman don't ride 4 miles to ask her captor's permission first. He rides to the telegraph. A sound came out of her. Small. Tight. Not a sob. Something meaner than a sob. I am so tired, Mr. Bennett. I know you are. I am so tired of being smart. I am so tired of knowing who's lying. I am so tired of... Her voice cracked. I am so tired of being right about people. He did not say anything. He sat on the floor beside her, and he did not touch her, and he did not speak, and after a while her breathing slowed down a little. Mr. Bennett. Yes, ma'am. I'll do it. He went still. The paper, she said. I'll sign it. Eliza, don't talk me out of it. I've had my talking out. I've had my sheriff and my federal men and my almost. I'll sign the paper. But I want something from you first. Name it. I want to know about Sarah. He did not answer. You said her name once. You said you had a wife and a little girl. You said 8 years ago. I want to know what happened, Mr. Bennett. I want to know before I put my name next to yours on a piece of paper, because I have already belonged to one man who lied to me about what kind of man he was, and I am not doing it twice. Still he did not answer. Mr. Bennett. Her name was Sarah. His voice was flat. Our girl was Ruth. She was 4. What happened? A man named Pike came through the territory looking for money he said I owed his brother. I didn't owe his brother nothing. His brother had cheated me on a cattle sale 2 years prior and been shot in Cheyenne by a man who wasn't me. Pike didn't care. Pike needed somebody to pay. I was on the west pasture. He came to the house. He beat my wife until she told him where the money was, and then he beat her again when there wasn't any money, and then he did other things I don't say out loud, and then he killed her. And then my little girl came out of the closet where Sarah had hid her, and she saw what he'd done. So he killed her too, because she'd seen. Eliza could not speak. I came home, Cole said, and I buried them, and I tracked Pike for 14 months. I found him in a saloon in New Mexico. I shot him while he was eating his supper. I did not say anything to him first. I did not give him a chance to draw. I shot him in the back of the head with a Winchester, and I walked out of that saloon and I rode north, and I have not been south of the Milk River since. Her throat was closed. Her eyes were burning. Mr. Bennett. Yes, ma'am. They would have hanged you. They would have. Why didn't they? Nobody in that saloon told. I had bought everyone in the room a drink before I did it. I told them what he'd done to my family. I asked them if any man there had a different opinion on the matter. No man did. They told the marshal a stranger rode in, shot Pike, and rode out. That's what the record says to this day. And you? And I built this ranch. I did not marry again. I did not call on any woman. I did not go to town except for supplies. I have spoken to maybe 12 people in 8 years, Miss Harper, and most of those was to say, no thank you, I'll take the Pinto, at the livery. So when I tell you I ain't asking for a wife, I am telling you the truth. I am asking for a name on a paper. I am asking for Walter Kane to have nothing he can take you back with. That's all I am asking for. After he is in the ground, or in a prison, or gone from this territory, you walk out that door any direction you want, and the paper becomes whatever you want it to be. You tear it up. You take it to a lawyer. You take it with you and use it to marry somebody else someday, if that's what your life wants. I do not care. I am not asking for a wife, Eliza. I am asking to not fail another woman who came to my door bleeding. She was crying. She had not cried in 4 years, and she was crying now, silent, with her forehead pressed against the oat sack and her fists in the grain, and she was crying for Sarah, who she did not know, and for Ruth, who was 4, and for her mother in the ground outside Bozeman, and for the girl she had been at 19 before Walter Kane had come courting her mother, and for every small hopeful thing in her that Walter had stepped on in 4 years of marriage to her mother and 2 years of ownership of her. Cole did not touch her. He did not speak. He sat 3 feet away and he let her cry, and he watched the barn door because he knew someone was coming back. After a long time, she wiped her face with the hem of her ruined dress. Mr. Bennett? Yes, ma'am. At first light. At first light. We don't go to town. He looked at her. Walter owns the town preacher. Walter owns the county preacher. Walter owns the 2 preachers in Bozeman and 1 in Miles City. I know this because my mother tried to leave him once, and she tried to get a divorce, and every preacher she went to sent word back to Walter before she was halfway home. So we do not go to town, Mr. Bennett. We ride to Fort Benton. There is a chaplain at the fort. He is Army. Walter does not own the Army. Cole stared at her. Fort Benton's a 2-day ride. I know it. Walter will be back before we make it out of the territory. Then we leave tonight. Not at first light. Tonight, as soon as it is dark. We take the back road along the creek. We do not stop at any ranch. We do not speak to any traveler. We ride to Fort Benton, and we find the chaplain, and we put our names on Army paper, which is federal paper, which cannot be touched by a territorial judge who happens to be mother-in-law. He did not speak. Mr. Bennet, you have thought about this. I have been thinking about this since I was 19 years old. I just did not know the name of the man I would ride with until an hour ago. Something in his face changed. Something went soft and then went hard again. All right. All right. Fort Benton, tonight, soon as the sun drops. Thank you, Mr. Bennet. Eliza. Yes, you are not going to thank me for this again. Not once. Not ever. You are doing me the favor, not the other way around. You understand me? She did not understand him. Not really, but she nodded. He stood up. His knees cracked again. I'm going to saddle 2 horses. I'm going to pack food for 3 days. I'm going to bring the Winchester and the Colt and the little Derringer that was Sarah's, and that one is for you. You ever fired a gun? My father taught me, before he died, when I was 11. Good. You remember. I remember. Then you carry the Derringer in your dress pocket, and if any man but me puts a hand on you between here and Fort Benton, you shoot him in the belly. Not the chest, not the head, the belly. A belly shot keeps a man from following. You understand? I understand. We leave in 2 hours. He walked out of the barn. She sat in the hay and she breathed, and she did not move. Her side hurt where he had wrapped it. Her heart hurt somewhere she could not name. Her hands had stopped shaking. For the first time since she was 19 years old, Eliza Harper was about to do something no man had told her to do. She was going to do it with a man she had known for 90 minutes. She did not know if that made her brave or made her a fool. She suspected it made her both. An hour later he came back into the barn with an armful of clothes, a shirt, trousers, a pair of boots that would be too big, a wool coat. These was Sarah's brother's. He left them when he came through 2 summers ago. They'll ride better than that dress. Mr. Bennet. Yes, ma'am. Turn around. He turned around. She changed in the stall. Slow. Every movement hurt. The shirt was clean and smelled like cedar. The trousers were too loose, and she tied them with a length of harness leather. The boots were a full size too big, and she stuffed the toes with rag. When she came out, he did not turn around right away. He spoke to the wall. You ready? Yes. He turned. He looked at her for 1 beat too long. Something wrong, Mr. Bennet? No, ma'am. You was looking at me. I was looking, he said slow, at a woman who just decided she was gonna live. I ain't seen that look on anybody in 8 years. Pardon me. She did not know what to say to that. He handed her the Derringer. It was small, warm from his pocket. 2 shots, that's all you get. Don't waste them. I won't. He led the horses out. A bay mare for her. A big gray for him. He helped her up, and when she flinched at the weight on her ribs, he stopped and held her steady until she nodded that she was all right. They rode out of the yard just as the sun was dropping toward the hills. They had been on the creek road no more than 20 minutes when Cole pulled up hard. Shh. Eliza froze. Ahead of them in the last red of the light, something was moving through the willows. Something big. Something on horseback. Mr. Bennet? I see him. How many? 1. Walter. Too small. The rider came out of the willows. A boy, maybe 15. On a horse too big for him and riding it hard. Mr. Bennet, the boy called. Mr. Bennet, sir. I've been sent to find you. Cole's hand moved to the Winchester across his saddle. Hold there, boy. Who sent you? Sheriff Dobbs, sir. He said to ride fast and ride quiet and to find you before dark. What's the message, son? The boy pulled his horse up 10 feet away. His face was white. He was breathing hard. He could not have been older than Ruth would have been. Mr. Bennet, Sir Sheriff Dobbs says Mr. Kane ain't at the sheriff's office no more. He says Mr. Kane left an hour ago. He says Mr. Kane took 11 men and they rode east, toward the Fort Road. Cole went still. Eliza felt her stomach drop. Sir, the boy said, Sheriff Dobbs says Mr. Kane knows. He says somebody told him. He says they're waiting for you on the Fort Benton Road. Sheriff Dobbs says the boy swallowed. He says don't ride it. He says ride anywhere else but don't ride the Fort Road tonight. He says he is sorry." Cole did not speak. Eliza did not speak. The boy waited. Then he turned his horse around and kicked it hard, and rode back the way he had come without waiting for an answer. And in the falling dark, Cole Bennett turned his head slow and looked at Eliza Harper, and he said only one thing. "Somebody in that barn," he said, "was listening." Cole kept his eyes on Eliza, and his voice did not rise. "Get off the road." "Mr. Bennett." Now, he turned the gray hard into the willows. Eliza followed. The bay mare stumbled on the loose rock, and she gripped the saddle horn and bit down on the scream that tried to come out of her. When they were 30 yards deep, and the last of the light was dying, Cole pulled up and swung down and caught her as she came off the horse. "Easy, easy." "Who was in the barn?" "I don't know yet." "Mr. Bennett, who was in the barn?" "I am thinking on it, ma'am." "Think faster." He looked at her, took a breath, let it out slow. "We never walked past the loft ladder." Her stomach turned. "The loft." "Yes, ma'am." "Somebody was in your loft the whole time." "Yes, ma'am." "When Walter came?" "Yes." "When the sheriff came?" "Yes." "When I told you about Fort Benton?" "Yes." She closed her eyes. "Mr. Bennett, I am going to be sick." "Eliza." "Don't touch me, I just need—" She pressed both hands against the saddle. "I just need a minute." "You ain't got a minute." "I know I ain't got a minute." It came out sharp too loud, and she clapped a hand over her own mouth the second she heard it. They both went still. The willows did not move. No hooves came. Nothing came. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be sorry. Be quiet." "I'm being quiet." "Good." He checked the Winchester. He checked the Colt. He looked at her. "Listen to me. We are going back to the ranch." "What?" "We are going back to the ranch. Mr. Bennett, that is exactly where he wants us." "No, ma'am. He wants us on the Fort Road. The Fort Road is where 11 men are sitting right now in the dark waiting for 2 riders. Walter Kane does not expect us to come back to the one place he's already been. And whoever was in that loft is still in that loft, or is halfway to Walter with the news, and either way, I want to know which. And if it's halfway to Walter, then we have about 4 hours before Walter gets the message, and I intend to use every one of them." "To do what?" "To ask you a question I should have asked you an hour ago." "What question?" He looked at her a long moment. "Why does he want you dead, Eliza?" She did not answer. "Because the sheriff had told me something that has been eating at me since the minute he said it. He said you know something. He said you saw something. He said Walter Kane has decided you don't get to keep breathing, and that is not the decision a man makes about a runaway stepdaughter. That is the decision a man makes about a witness." Still she did not answer. "Eliza." "Mr. Bennett, I am about to ride back into a trap for you. I am about to put my name on a paper with yours. I think I am owed the truth." Her hands were shaking again. She pressed them flat against the leather. "I have a deed," she said. "Ma'am, I have my father's deed, to our land. The 400 acres outside Bozeman that Walter has been running cattle on for 6 years. My father bought that land in 1862. He filed the deed with the Territorial Office in 1863. When he died, the deed went to my mother. When Walter married my mother, he told her the deed had been lost in a fire. He had papers drawn up saying the land was his. He paid a clerk in Helena to file them. He has been the legal owner of my father's land for 4 years, Mr. Bennett, and he is not the legal owner of anything." Cole did not speak. "3 months ago," she said, "I was going through my mother's sewing basket, looking for a thimble, and in the lining of the basket she had sewn something into the lining. My mother, God rest her soul, was not a stupid woman. She knew what Walter was. She knew before she died. And she had sewn my father's deed into the lining of her sewing basket, and she had written my name on the back in her own hand, and she had put a date on it from before she married Walter. 3 months ago, I found a piece of paper that makes my stepfather a thief, a forger, and a liar. And 2 months ago, he caught me hiding it under a floorboard in my room. And he has been trying to kill me ever since. Cole was quiet for a long beat. Where is the deed now? On me. On you. Inside my dress, folded, sewn into the hem. Mr. Bennett, it is the only thing of my mother's I have left, and it is the only thing in this world that can put Walter Kane in a federal prison, and I have been carrying it against my skin for 3 months. Lord have mercy. Now you know. Now I know. Does it change your mind? He looked at her. No, ma'am. It just tells me the horse we're riding is bigger than I thought. She let out a breath she did not know she was holding. We are going back to the ranch, he said again, and we are going to find out who was in my loft. Because the one thing worse than Walter Kane knowing we're headed to Fort Benton is Walter Kane knowing about that piece of paper in your dress. And if he knows, ma'am, he is not sending 11 men. He is sending every man in the county, and he is burning my house to the ground to make sure the deed burns with it. Then let's ride. Yes, ma'am. They did not take the road. They went through the creek bottom, the horses walking in water up to their hocks to kill the tracks, and they came up on the ranch from the south, through the wheat. And when they saw the dark shape of the barn against the last of the sky, Cole pulled up and swung down without a sound. You wait here. No. Eliza. No, Mr. Bennett. I have waited in barns for other people to do my fighting for me for 2 years. I am done waiting. You give me that Winchester, and you tell me where to stand. He looked at her. You sure? I am sure. Can you shoot it? My father taught me. You said the Derringer. He taught me everything he owned. Cole handed her the Winchester. He took the Colt for himself. South door. I'll go in the main. If he runs, he's going to run south. You stop him. You do not ask him his name. You do not ask him his business. You put him on the ground and you call for me. You understand? I understand. Eliza. Yes. Do not die on me tonight. I'll try, Mr. Bennett. He moved. She moved. She circled the barn wide and came up on the south door slow and low. The Winchester heavy in her hands, and the weight of it felt right. It felt like her father's hands on her shoulders when she was 11. It felt like her mother's voice saying a woman with a gun is just a woman with options. It felt like the first thing in 4 years that had felt like hers. She pressed her back to the barn wall. She heard Cole step inside the main door. She heard him say very quiet, Come down from there, son. Nice and slow. I know you're up there. Silence. Then a voice. Young. Shaking. Mr. Bennett? Mr. Bennett, sir, please don't shoot me. I ain't gonna shoot you. Come down. I got a family, sir. Come down the ladder. Feet on wood. Shaking feet. A boy's feet. Eliza's hand tightened on the Winchester. She heard the boy hit the floor. She heard him start to cry. Mr. Bennett, please, sir. He's got my little sister. He's got her at the house, sir. He said if I didn't stay and listen and ride to him with what I heard he would do to her what he done to whose son? To my mama, Mr. Bennett. He done it to my mama last summer. Silence. Eliza stepped through the south door. The boy was on his knees on the barn floor. He could not have been more than 14. His face was a mess of tears and snot, and he was holding his hat in both hands, like a man holds a thing when he has nothing else to hold. Cole stood over him with the Colt down at his side, not pointed, not lowered, all the way just down. Son, Cole said, what's your name? Tom, sir. Tommy Aldridge. Aldridge. Cole's voice changed. You John Aldridge's boy? Yes, sir. Your daddy was a good man. Yes, sir. Your daddy worked my roundup 4 years running. Yes, sir. Before he passed. How'd he pass Tommy? The boy did not answer. Tommy. He passed from a fall, sir, off his horse. That's what Mr. Kane said. Did you see him fall? No, sir. Did anybody see him fall? No, sir. Cole was quiet. Your daddy worked for Walter Kane at the end. Yes, sir. Your mama worked in his house. Yes, sir. And now your sister works in his house. Yes, sir. How old is your sister Tommy? 11, sir. Eliza felt something break inside her chest. Not loud, not all at once, just a small clean snap like a green branch. She set the Winchester against the wall. Tommy. The boy's head came up. Tommy, look at me. Look at me, honey. His eyes were huge. You know who I am. Yes, ma'am. You're her. I'm her. He said you was a thief. I ain't a thief, Tommy. I know you ain't. The boy was crying harder now. I know you ain't, ma'am. I know it. He says everybody is a thief. He says my daddy was a thief. He says my mama stole from him. He says it about everybody right before. I know what he does, Tommy. Ma'am, he's gonna kill my sister. No, he ain't. He said, Tommy, listen to me. Look at my face. He is not going to kill your sister. You hear me? He is not. Ma'am, you don't know him. I know him better than anybody alive knows him. I know him better than the devil himself knows him. And I am telling you, Tommy Aldridge, that your sister is going to sleep in her own bed tomorrow night, and the night after that, and every night for the rest of her life. Do you hear me? Yes, ma'am. Do you believe me? Do you believe me, son? A pause. Yes, ma'am. Good. She knelt down in front of him, slow. Her ribs screamed. She did not care. Tommy, I am going to ask you questions, and you are going to answer them. And then Mr. Bennett and I are going to ride out of here and go do what needs doing. And nobody is ever going to know you told us a single thing. You understand me? Yes, ma'am. How many men did Walter take to the Fort Road? 11, ma'am. The Dawsons, the Prentice boys. 4 men from Miles City I don't know, and Mr. Kane. How many men are still at the house? 3, ma'am. And my sister, and the cook, and Miss Annie. Who's Miss Annie? The woman Mr. Kane brought home from Helena last month. Eliza closed her eyes. Another one. Tommy, does Walter know about a paper? A deed. A piece of paper with writing on it. Ma'am. Think, Tommy. Did you ever hear him say the word deed? Or the word land? Or the word Bozeman? Yes, ma'am. He says them words every day. What does he say? He says the girl took something of his. He says she has it on her. He says that's why she has to be brought back quiet, not shot on sight. He says when she's back, he'll get it off her, and then he'll deal with her. He said that. Yes, ma'am. Eliza looked up at Cole. Cole was looking down at her. His jaw was tight. He knows, she said. He knows, Cole said. He has always known. He has always known, Eliza. She put both hands on her face for one beat. Then she took them down. Tommy. Yes, ma'am. When is Walter expecting you back? Midnight, ma'am, at the house. He said if I wasn't back by midnight, he'd know I'd been caught, and the boy's voice broke. He'd start with Sissy. Midnight. Yes, ma'am. She stood up. Mr. Bennett. Yes, ma'am. Change of plan. I figured. We are not riding to Fort Benton. No, ma'am. We are riding to Walter's house. Cole did not say anything for a beat. Ma'am. Mr. Bennett. That is 11 miles in the dark, with 11 men in the wrong direction and 3 men at the other end of the ride. I know it. Eliza. There is an 11-year-old girl in that house, Mr. Bennett. There is a girl named Sissy, whose mother is dead, and whose father is dead, and whose brother is crying on your barn floor because Walter Kane told him to be. I am not riding to Fort Benton and leaving her there. I am not. I would rather die tonight than be a woman who rode past Sissy Aldridge to save my own hide. Cole stared at her. I had a feeling you was going to say something like that. Mr. Bennett, if you want to ride to Fort Benton, ma'am. You can put me on that bay and send me, Eliza. And I will ride alone if I have to, Eliza Harper. She stopped. Cole walked 2 steps closer, not touching her, just close. Where you go, I go. I told you that at the barn this afternoon, and I am telling you again now. You point to ride. You understand me? Her throat closed. Yes, Mr. Bennett. Good. Tommy. Yes, ma'am. You are going to ride back to Walter's house right now. You are going to tell him you found us on the Fort Road. You are going to tell him we was arguing. You are going to tell him Mr. Bennett wanted to ride for the fort, and I wanted to ride for Helena, and you left us fighting on the road. You tell him we never saw you. You tell him you hid and listened and left. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Can you lie to him, Tommy? Can you lie to him straight? My mama taught me to lie to him, ma'am, before she passed. Good. Ma'am? Yes, Tommy. You gonna kill him tonight? She did not answer right away. Tommy, go home. Go to your sister. You tell her her brother loves her. You tell her somebody is coming. You do not tell her my name, and you do not tell her Mr. Bennett's name. You just tell her somebody is coming. You understand me? Yes, ma'am. Ride. The boy rode. They watched him go. When he was out of sight, Cole turned to her. 11 miles. 11 miles. 3 men at the house. 3 men. And a woman named Annie who might or might not be a problem. She is not going to be a problem, Mr. Bennett. How do you know? Because I know what woman Walter brings home from Helena. I used to be that woman's age. She is not going to be a problem. All right. He walked to his horse, checked the cinch, pulled the Winchester from the saddle scabbard, checked the loads. Eliza. Yes. The deed in your dress. Yes. You put that in my saddlebag right now. Mr. Bennett. Ma'am, if something happens to you tonight, I want that paper riding out of there in my hands. Not buried in a dress on the floor of Walter Kane's kitchen. You put it in my saddlebag, please. Her hands went to the hem of her dress. She tore at the stitching her mother had put there 3 months ago with her dying hands. The deed came out. Folded small. Still dry. Still whole. She handed it to him. He put it inside his saddlebag. He buckled the bag shut. He looked at her. Now it rides with one of us. Whichever one lives. Both of us are going to live, Mr. Bennett. Yes, ma'am. Say it. Both of us are going to live, Eliza. Swear it. I swear it. She knew he did not mean it. She knew he could not mean it. She knew he was a man who had buried a wife and a daughter and did not expect to live long enough to bury a third woman he cared about. She knew. She took it anyway. She swung up onto the bay. Her side screamed. She set her jaw. Mr. Bennett? Yes, ma'am. My father's name was Samuel Harper. All right, if I don't make it home tonight, the deed says Samuel Harper's daughter, and Samuel Harper's daughter is me, and after me it goes to nobody. You hand that paper to a federal marshal, and you tell him Samuel Harper's daughter said to break Walter Kane. Yes, ma'am. Now let's ride. They rode. 11 miles in the dark through the wheat and over the draw and down the long slope toward the house where Eliza Harper had been a prisoner for 2 years and a daughter for none. And halfway there, 3 miles out from Walter Kane's front porch, Cole pulled up so hard his horse reared, and he threw his hand up for her to stop. A fire was burning in the valley ahead. A big one. A house-sized one. And the fire was exactly where Walter Kane's house was supposed to be. Eliza heard the sound come out of her own mouth before she knew she had made it. Sissy. Easy. Cole, sissy. She kicked the bay hard. Cole caught the bridle before the mare could take a full stride. The horse wheeled and almost threw her. He held on. He would not let go. Eliza. Let go of my horse. No, ma'am. Let go of my horse, Mr. Bennett. Eliza, listen to me. You ride in there right now, you die in there. That fire is a trap. That fire is bait. Walter Kane did not ride 11 men to the Fort Road and then burn his own house down by accident. That fire is for you. Sissy is in that house. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe. Eliza, he wants you to come in hot. He wants you to come in screaming her name. You ride in there like that, and the 3 men he left behind are not going to shoot you from the porch. They are going to grab you alive, and they are going to hold you until he gets back, and then he is going to take that deed out of your dress, and he is going to put you in the fire with whoever is already in there." She was crying. She did not know when she had started. "Cole?" "Yes, ma'am. If she's in there." "I know. If she's already in there." "I know, Eliza." "Then I want to die with her." "No, you don't." "Yes, I do." "No, ma'am. You want Walter Kane to die. And you want Sissy Aldridge to grow up in a house with curtains on the windows, and you want a federal marshal to read Samuel Harper's deed out loud in a courtroom. That is what you want. Dying in a burning house with an 11-year-old girl is what it feels like you want right now. You are not the same thing. You hear me?" She was shaking. Her hands, her whole body. "Eliza." "Yes." "Get off the horse." She got off the horse. Her knees folded. He caught her under the arm and set her down easy against a rock, and he went down on one knee in front of her, and he took her face in his hands. It was the first time he had touched her face. She did not flinch. "Listen to me. You are the smartest person on this ground tonight. You are smarter than me, and you are smarter than Walter, and you are smarter than the 3 men waiting for us in those shadows. So I need you to be smart, not brave. Smart. You hear me?" "Yes. We are going to go in from the creekside, on foot. Horses tied at the cottonwoods. We are going to get close enough to count the men and see the fire and see if there is anybody moving that is not a man with a gun. And then we are going to decide. Together. You and me. And if Sissy Aldridge is in that house, we are going to get her out. And if she is not in that house, we are going to kill 3 men quiet and wait for Walter Kane to come home. Either way, you live through tonight. You understand me?" "Yes." "Say it." "I understand, Cole." "Good." He helped her up. They tied the horses in the cottonwoods. They moved on foot along the creek, Eliza's ribs on fire, with every step Cole's Winchester low and ready, and when they came up over the rise and saw the house full on, Eliza stopped and pressed both hands to her mouth. It was the barn, not the house. The barn was the fire. The house was dark. The house was whole. "Cole?" "I see it." "The barn." "Yes, ma'am." "Sissy wasn't in the barn. Nobody was in the barn. The barn is just a signal." "A signal to who?" "To Walter. That we came home." She understood it in one breath, the whole shape of it. "The man who lit it is still here." "Yes, ma'am." "He lit the fire when he saw us coming over the draw. He lit it and he ran back to the house to tell the other 2. That is what I figure. So right now, there are 3 men inside that house, and all 3 of them are watching that barn, and none of them are watching the creek." "Yes, ma'am." "Cole?" "Yes." "Sissy might be inside that house right now." "Yes, ma'am." "Alive." "Yes, ma'am." "Might be." "Then let's go." They moved. They came up on the kitchen side. The window was dark. Eliza knew the window. Eliza had washed that window on her knees 300 times. Eliza had cut her hand on that window sash the day Walter had told her she was going to be his, now that her mother was in the ground. Eliza knew every floorboard in the house behind that window, and she knew which ones screamed and which ones kept a secret. She put her mouth against Cole's ear. "Side door, off the pantry. Comes in behind the cook stove. Floor don't squeak for the first 6 steps. Who's in the kitchen this time of night?" "Marta, the cook. She sleeps on a cot by the stove." "Is she Walter's?" "No. She hates Walter. She hated my mother's marriage, and she hates me being the replacement, and she hates the new girl from Helena, and she hates every piece of meat she has cooked in that house for 4 years. Marta is not going to scream, Cole." "You sure?" "I am sure." "All right." They went in through the pantry. The smell hit her first. Bacon grease. Lye. Her mother's lavender, that Marta kept in a jar on the shelf because she said it covered the stink of Walter's cigars. Eliza almost sat down right there on the pantry floor. Cole's hand on her shoulder. One squeeze. "Keep moving." They stepped into the kitchen. Marta was on the cot. Awake. Sitting up. A cleaver across her lap. She was not a young woman. She had arms like a man. When she saw Eliza, her whole face went loose and then went tight again, and she did not make a sound. Eliza went to her and knelt. Marta. Child. Where is Sissy? Marta's eyes went wet. Marta. Where is Sissy? In the root cellar, child. I put her in the root cellar 2 hours ago. I told her to stay and not make a sound no matter what she heard. The men think she ran off. He told them if she run off, they was to let her run because she would die in the dark and save him a bullet. Eliza closed her eyes. Marta. Child. I love you. I know you do, child. How many men upstairs? 2. Randall. And a man I don't know. The man I don't know is bad, child. Worse than Randall. Where is the third? On the porch, watching the barn. Where is Miss Annie? Marta's face did a thing. She's locked in the bedroom, child. The green one. He locked her in there 3 days ago. I've been bringing her bread through the window. Is she hurt? Yes, child. Bad. Bad. Eliza stood up. Cole. Yes. Porch first, then the 2 upstairs. I get Sissy and Annie out through the root cellar door. Marta goes with them. You meet us at the cottonwoods. Eliza. Yes. The man on the porch. Quiet. Yes, ma'am. He moved. She held her breath. She did not hear him go. Cole Bennett moved through a house like he had been born in its walls. She heard a board creak once far on the parlor side. Then nothing. Then nothing for a long time. Then one small sound. A cough, a wet cough, not her cough. Then silence. Then Cole was back in the kitchen. His shirt had blood on the sleeve. Not his. 1. Good. The stairs. I know the stairs. I don't. 3rd from the top screams. 5th from the top screams. Skip them both. The rest are fine. You coming? I am coming. She was. She should not have been. Her ribs were screaming and her head was swimming, and she had not eaten since yesterday noon, and she was going up those stairs anyway, because the man sleeping in what used to be her mother's bedroom had buried her mother in that bedroom, and she was not going to let another woman die in that house tonight. They went up. 3rd from the top. Skip. 5th from the top. Skip. Top of the stairs. Hallway. Her mother's room to the left. The green room to the right. Randall in the left. The stranger in the right. Cole looked at her. His eyes asked a question. She pointed left. Her mother's room. Randall. She wanted Randall. Cole went right. She stood at her mother's door for 1 beat. 1 breath. She thought of her mother's hand on her hair. She thought of her mother's voice saying a woman with a gun is just a woman with options. She thought of her father. She thought of Sissy Aldridge in the dark of the root cellar, not making a sound. She opened the door. Randall was in her mother's bed. Her mother's bed. Eliza Harper had been carrying a Derringer in her pocket for 8 hours, and she had been told to use it only in the last resort, and she decided standing in that doorway that this was the last resort there would ever be. He sat up. Who's? She shot him in the belly. He made a sound. He reached for the pistol on the nightstand. She walked 3 steps into the room, and she shot him again in the belly with her second shot, and he fell back on her mother's pillow, and he died looking at her with his mouth open, and she did not feel one thing. Not one. She stood there, and she looked at him. From the green room, 1 shot. Cole's Colt. Then silence. Then Cole's voice low from the hall. Eliza. Yes. You done? I'm done. Come out. She came out. Cole was holding Annie. Annie was small, younger than Eliza. Her face was a purple mess. She could not open one eye. She was shaking so hard Cole was the only thing keeping her upright. Ma'am? Annie whispered when she saw Eliza. Ma'am, please. Annie, I'm Eliza. I am going to get you out of this house. Ma'am, he's coming back. He said when he came back. He is not coming back, Annie. Not tonight, not ever. Ma'am, can you walk? I can try. Try. They went down the stairs together. Marta met them at the bottom with Sissy. The girl was 11 years old, and she had flour on her face, and her eyes were the size of dinner plates, and she was not making a sound, because her grandma had taught her brother to lie to Walter Kane, and somebody had taught Sissy Aldridge to be quiet. Eliza went down on one knee in front of her. Sissy. Yes, ma'am. I am a friend of your brother Tommy. Yes, ma'am. Your brother is safe. I saw him 2 hours ago. He is safe, and he is waiting for you. Sissy's face broke. Eliza caught her before she could make a sound, put a hand over her mouth, pressed her forehead against the girl's forehead. Quiet, honey, quiet. You can cry in a minute. Not now. You understand me. Sissy nodded. Good girl. Good girl. Now you take Marta's hand and you do not let go, no matter what. Not even if somebody says let go. You hold on to Marta. You hear me? Yes, ma'am. Marta. Child. Cottonwoods down the creek. A quarter mile. 2 horses. Take them. Ride east. Not to town. To the Aldridge place. You know the Aldridge place. I know it. Tommy is there. Go. Child. Marta, go. Come with us. Not yet. Eliza Ann Harper. Marta. I am not leaving this house until it is empty. Go. Marta looked at her a long beat. Then Marta nodded. Marta had been a woman in this country long enough to know when a woman had made up her mind. They went. Cole closed the kitchen door behind them. Eliza? He is coming back, Cole. Yes, ma'am. How long? Hour, maybe less. When he don't see us on the fort road, he'll come home to find out why the barn's burning and the sign was never answered. He'll come in hot. He'll come in hot. Good. She walked back into the kitchen. She walked to the pantry. She opened the cabinet where Walter kept his good whiskey. 40 bottles. She took them down one by one, and she set them on the kitchen table, and she looked at Cole. Cole? Yes. Do you love me? He stared at her. Ma'am, I am asking you a plain question. You told me this afternoon you was not asking for a wife. I believed you. I still believe you. But I am about to do something, and I need to know the answer before I do it. Do you love me, Cole Bennett? Eliza. Yes or no? I have known you 11 hours. Yes or no, Cole? A long beat. Yes. Since when? Since you told me to be quiet in the willows. Good. Eliza. I love you too. She said it plain. The way a woman says the sky is blue. I have known you 11 hours and I love you. I love you because you lied to Walter Kane's face before you knew what was in my dress. I love you because you told me about Sarah and Ruth before you asked for my name. I love you because you let me have the Winchester, and you let me go up the stairs, and you did not once in this whole long terrible day tell me to be a smaller thing than I am. I love you, Cole Bennett, and if I do not live through the next hour, I want you to know it, and if I do live through the next hour, I intend to say it to you again in the daylight on your porch with a coffee cup in my hand. Do you hear me? I hear you. Good. Now what are you doing with that whiskey? She picked up the first bottle. Cole, Walter Kane is about to ride home to his house. I intend for there to be no house. Eliza, he does not get to keep one thing that was my mother's. Not the curtains, not the rugs, not the silver my father bought her the year I was born. Not the bed he put her body in. None of it. He came in here 4 years ago, and he took everything that was not his, and tonight I am taking it back by taking it away from this earth. And when he rides over that rise and sees his house burning with him inside it, he is going to know that Eliza Ann Harper did it. And he is going to ride straight at it. And that is when we end this. Cole looked at her. A slow smile broke across his face. Small, tired, real. Ma'am. Yes. Give me half them bottles. They poured. They poured upstairs and down. They poured in the parlor where Walter had slapped her the first time. They poured on the bed where her mother had died. They poured on the stairs and the hall and the porch. Took the last bottle into the room that used to be hers, and she poured it on the floorboard, where she had hidden the deed for 3 months, and she said out loud to nobody, "Mama, I found it. I got it. It is in Cole Bennett's saddlebag, and it is going to a federal marshal tomorrow. You rest now, Mama. You rest." She walked out. Cole was on the porch. "Ready. Ready." He struck the match. He did not throw it right away. He looked at her first. "Eliza." "Yes." "You are sure?" "I am sure, Cole." He threw the match. The whiskey took. Blue and low, and then yellow, and then loud. The house that had held Eliza Harper for 2 years went up around them, and they ran for the cottonwoods, and they did not look back. At the cottonwoods, the horses were gone. Marta had taken them. They were on foot. They ran until they could not run, and then they walked, and then they crouched down in the draw a half-mile from the burning house, and they waited. They did not wait long. Over the rise, hard and fast, came horses. Many horses. 12, maybe more. Led by one rider who was riding like a man whose soul had caught fire with his house. "There he is," Cole whispered. "There he is," Eliza said. Walter Kane reined up in front of his burning house, and he slid off his horse, and he stood staring at the fire, and even from the draw, Eliza could see his shoulders heave. Then he threw his head back, and he screamed her name. "Eliza!" She stood up in the draw. Cole grabbed her wrist. "Eliza." "Let me go, Cole." "Eliza, no. He is going to know it was me. He is going to know it to his grave. Let me go." "Not like that, ma'am." "Then like what?" He looked at her, his face in the firelight, the Winchester in his hand. "Like a woman with options," he said, and he handed her the rifle. Eliza took the Winchester. It was heavier than she remembered, or her arms were weaker than she had thought. Either way, she set the stock against her shoulder, and she breathed the way her father had taught her, in through the nose and out through the mouth, and she found Walter Kane standing in the firelight 60 yards away, and she put the front bead on the center of his chest. "Cole?" "Yes, ma'am." "If I miss?" "You ain't gonna miss." "Cole, if I miss?" "If you miss, I finish it. You have my word." She breathed. She did not shoot. She lowered the rifle. Cole looked at her. "Eliza." "I cannot do it from here." "Ma'am." "I cannot shoot him in the back from a draw at 60 yards. Not him. Not that man. I have waited 2 years for Walter Kane to know my name the way I know his, and I am not taking that from myself because I am scared. Eliza. I want him to see me, Cole. He will kill you." "No, he won't." "Ma'am, he has 12 men. He has 11 men, and one of him, and every one of them is standing in front of a burning house not knowing what to do because the man who tells them what to do is on his knees in the dirt, screaming my name at the sky. Look at him, Cole. Look." Cole looked. Walter Kane was on his knees. Walter Kane was clawing at the ground. Walter Kane. The man who had never raised his voice in 4 years, who had never struck her in front of a window, who had beaten her mother to death with the measured patience of a man winding a watch. Walter Kane was unraveling 60 yards away in front of his own men, and his own men were staring at him like they had never seen him before. "Cole," Eliza said, "there will never be another moment like this one. Not in my life. Not in his. I am going down there. Alone." "No, sir." "With you. 10 paces behind me. Winchester up. If a man moves, you shoot him. If Walter reaches for a gun, you shoot him. If I fall, you take that deed out of your saddlebag, and you ride. Your saddlebag is on a horse halfway to the Aldridge place. Then you ride to the Aldridge place, and you take the deed off Marta, and you ride from there." "Yes, ma'am." "Cole." "Ma'am." "I love you." "I know it." "Say it back." "I love you, Eliza Harper." "Good. 10 paces. She stepped out of the draw. She walked. She walked into the firelight of the house her stepfather had stolen, and she carried a Winchester that was not her father's, but might as well have been. And she walked with her ribs screaming, and her mother's voice in her ear, and her own name on Walter Kane's lips. And she did not stop, and she did not slow. One of the Dawson boys saw her first. "Boss?" Walter did not hear. "Boss! Boss!" Walter's head came up. He saw her. He stopped screaming. The whole yard went quiet. 11 men, 12 counting Walter. Their hands hovered at their gun belts, and not one of them drew because the girl walking toward them was not running and not crying and not begging. And their boss had spent 4 years telling them she was a thief and a whore and a mad girl. And whatever that woman was walking across the yard with a rifle in her hands, she was not those things. Eliza stopped 10 paces from Walter Kane. "Walter!" He was still on his knees. His hands were black with dirt. His face was wet. "You. Me. You burned it. I burned it. My house. My father's money bought that house, Walter. My mother's hands kept it. It was never yours. I took back what was mine, and I burned what was not. I am sorry about the rugs." A sound came out of him. Not a laugh, not a sob. Something in between. "Eliza." "Yes." "Come here." "No, sir." "Eliza Ann, come here to your father." "You are not my father, Walter. You were never my father. You were the man who married my mother after my father died of a fever. You probably put in his water. I have thought on that a long time. Walter and I have decided you did." "Did you?" Walter did not answer. "Did you, Walter?" "Put the rifle down, child." "Did you kill my father?" The Dawson boys looked at each other. The men from Miles City looked at Walter. Walter smiled. It was a small smile, almost kind. "Your father," he said, "was a weak man who drank bad water from a bad well. That is all I will ever say about your father. That is enough." "Eliza." "Walter, what do you want?" "I want you to tell these men what you did to my mother." "I did not do anything to your mother." "You beat her to death across 4 years." "She was sick. She was always sick." "You made her sick." "Eliza." "You made her sick, Walter. You put something in her tea. I watched you do it. I was 15 years old and I watched you do it, and I did not know what I was seeing, and I spent 3 years after she died trying to remember what I had seen, and 2 months ago I remembered. That is when you knew I remembered. That is when you started trying to kill me. Tell these men, Walter. Tell them what you put in my mother's tea." Walter's smile did not move. "Child, you are upset. Tell them. You have had a shock. Tell them, Walter Kane." And then the Dawson boys' hands, both of them, moved 1 inch closer to their guns. Not toward her, toward Walter. Something was happening in that yard that Walter had not planned for. "Boys," Walter said, easy, "the girl is sick in her head. Take the rifle off her. Gentle. She is my daughter. Gentle, boys." Not one of them moved. "Boys." Nothing. "Randall!" Walter called, and his voice cracked for the first time. "Randall! Where are you, Randall?" "Randall's dead! Walter!" Walter's head snapped back to her. "The other one too. The one from Helena. Both dead upstairs. Before the fire got them. I did Randall myself. Mr. Bennett did the other. Annie is alive. Marta is alive. Sissy Aldridge is alive. Everyone you owned in that house is alive, except the 2 men who held the doors, and they are dead, because I shot one of them in my mother's bed, and Mr. Bennett shot the other in the room where you had Annie locked up. You are by yourself, Walter. You have been by yourself since the minute you knelt down in that dirt. Those men behind you do not work for you anymore. They are just standing there because they have not decided yet whether to ride off or to shoot you for the bounty. Did you know there is a bounty?" Walter stared at her. "There is," she said. "I did not know it until this afternoon. The federal marshal in Helena put paper out on you 6 weeks ago for land fraud. Mr. Bennett's sheriff told him. That is why the sheriff came to the barn today. He was not coming to help me. He was coming to see if I was worth more to him alive than the money you had paid him. He decided I was not. But the paper is still out there, Walter. You are a wanted man. The men behind you know that. They have known it since this morning. That is why they are not moving. They are doing math." Walter turned his head slow. He looked at the Dawson boys. The older Dawson boy, Silas, looked at his brother. His brother nodded. Silas Dawson drew his pistol, and he put it against the back of Walter Kane's head, and he said very calm, "Mr. Kane, on your belly, hands behind your back." Walter did not move. "Sir." Silas. "Sir, I will shoot you." Silas Dawson, "I raised you from a boy." "Yes, sir. And the bounty is $300 alive and $100 dead. I am going to take you alive because my mama did not raise a man who kills on his knees. But I am going to take you. On your belly, Mr. Kane." Walter Kane got down on his belly. The man who had held a whole county in his fist for 4 years lay face down in his own dirt and put his hands behind his back and let a 22-year-old boy put rope on his wrists, and he did not say one more word. Eliza watched. She did not lower the rifle. When Walter was tied, Silas Dawson looked up at her. "Miss Harper." "Silas." "I am sorry, miss." "I know you are. I did things. I know you did. I am going to ride him to Helena tonight. To the marshal. I am going to tell the marshal everything I done for him. I will take what is coming. I expect you will." "Miss?" "Yes." "Was you telling the truth about your mama, the tea?" Eliza looked at him. "Silas, I was 15 years old. I watched him do it. I did not know what I was watching, but I will swear it on any Bible in any courtroom in this territory. Yes, I was telling the truth." Silas Dawson nodded once. Then Silas Dawson kicked Walter Kane in the ribs, as hard as a grown man can kick another grown man, and Walter made a sound into the dirt, and Silas said very quiet, "That was for Mrs. Kane, sir. It's for—" And the men from Miles City mounted their horses and rode off into the dark without looking back, because they were men who had been paid to do one job, and the job was gone, and the younger Dawson boy knelt by his brother and started tying Walter's legs, and Eliza Harper stood in the firelight with a Winchester in her hands, and she finally lowered it. Cole came up behind her. He did not touch her. "Eliza." "Yes." "It is done." "Not yet." "Ma'am." "Silas." "Yes, miss. When you ride to Helena, Mr. Bennett is going to ride with you. He has a paper for the marshal. It is my father's deed. It is going to hang your boss." "Yes, miss." "And when the marshal asks you who lit the house?" Silas looked at her. "I did, miss." "Silas, I lit the house, miss, trying to burn you out. Mr. Kane ordered it. I am confessing to arson. I am confessing to being in his employ. I am confessing to everything I done and to everything I saw him do. If the marshal hangs me for it, the marshal hangs me." Silas Dawson. "Miss, the marshal will not hang you. Not if you tell him what you just told me. Not if you tell him about my mother and the tea. Not if you tell him about John Aldridge and the fall off the horse that nobody saw. Do you understand me?" "Yes, miss." "Tell him everything." "Yes, miss." "Go." They went. Silas Dawson rode out of the yard with Walter Kane tied across a saddle like a deer, and his brother riding beside him, and Cole Bennett riding behind them, with the deed of Samuel Harper buttoned inside his shirt against his heart, and Eliza Harper stood alone in the yard of the house she had burned, and she watched until the last hoofbeat was gone. Then she sat down in the dirt. Then she cried. She cried for a long time. She cried until the fire had burned itself down to coals. She cried for her father, who had been a good man with a good well. She cried for her mother, who had known what she was drinking for a long time before she stopped drinking it. She cried for Sarah Bennett, and for Ruth Bennett, who she had never met, and who she now felt she had known all her life. She cried for John Aldridge. She cried for Tommy and for Sissy and for Marta and for Annie from Helena, who would now be Annie from somewhere else. She cried for the girl she had been at 15, and for the girl she had been at 19, and for the woman she had almost not lived to become. And then she stood up. She walked back along the creek in the dark, not afraid of any shadow. And when she came to the Aldridge place just before dawn, Marta was on the porch with a lantern, and Sissy was asleep in Marta's lap, and Tommy Aldridge was sitting on the step with a rifle across his knees like a man. And when Tommy saw Eliza, he set the rifle down, and he ran to her, and he put his arms around her waist, and he cried into her shirt, and Eliza held him, and she said the only thing there was to say. "Your sister is safe, Tommy. She is safe. It is over. It is over, son. It is over." Cole Bennett came back from Helena on the 7th day. He rode into the yard of his own ranch at sundown, and Eliza was sitting on his porch with a coffee cup in her hand, just as she had said she would, and she stood up when she saw him, and she walked out into the yard to meet him, and she did not run because her ribs still hurt, but she walked fast. He got down off the gray. "Eliza." "Cole, the marshal took this deed." "Good. The land goes back to you. In your name. Samuel Harper's daughter. They will file the papers by the end of the month." "Good. Walter Kane will hang." "When?" 30 days. "Good." Silas Dawson walked, testified against him, told the marshal about your mother, told the marshal about John Aldridge, told the marshal about 4 other men I never even heard of. Walter is hanging for 6 murders, Eliza. 6 that they can prove. The marshal said there is likely more. There is more. I figured. Cole. Yes. The paper you and I was going to sign. Yes. We did not sign it. No, ma'am. We did not need to. No, ma'am. Walter is going to hang whether we are married or not. Yes, ma'am. The deed is in my name whether we are married or not. Yes, ma'am. So the reason for a paper is gone. Yes, ma'am. She looked at him. Cole Bennett. Yes, Eliza. I would like to marry you anyway. He did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was so quiet she almost did not hear it. Ma'am? Cole. I do not know what to do with that. Say yes. Yes. Good. Eliza. Yes. I have not touched a woman in 8 years. I know it. I do not know how to be a husband anymore. I do not know how to be a wife. I have never been one. I have been a daughter and a stepdaughter and a prisoner and a runaway and a woman with a rifle in the dark. I have never been a wife. So I reckon we will learn it together. Cole Bennett, or we will not learn it at all. Either way, I am not going anywhere. Ma'am? Yes. Your dress is clean. Marta washed it. It looks nice. Thank you. I was afraid the whole ride home. Of what? That I would ride in and you would not be here. I am here. I see that. I am going to keep being here, Cole. That is a thing I am deciding right now on this porch in front of you. I am going to keep being here, for as long as you want me. And when you do not want me anymore, I am still going to be somewhere. I am not going to disappear. I am not going to be swallowed by any man ever again, not even by a good one. Do you understand me? I understand you. Good. They were married 3 weeks later by the chaplain at Fort Benton, because Eliza had said she would be married on federal paper, or not at all. And the chaplain signed the line, and Cole signed the line, and Eliza signed her full name. Eliza Ann Harper, in her own hand, the first legal signature of her adult life. Sissy Aldridge was the flower girl. Tommy Aldridge gave the bride away. Marta cried through the whole ceremony. Annie from Helena, who now lived in a boarding house in Bozeman, run by a woman who asked no questions, sent a letter that Eliza read aloud to Cole that night by the fire, and in the letter, Annie said only one thing. You told me he was not coming back, and you were right, and I will never forget it as long as I live. Walter Kane hanged on a Tuesday. Eliza did not go. She stayed home, and she planted roses along the south side of the house, the side that got the afternoon sun, and she named the first one for her mother, and the second one for her father, and the third one for Sarah Bennett, who she had never met. Cole came out when she was on the last one. Who's that one for? Ruth. He did not say anything. He sat down in the dirt next to her, and he pressed his forehead against her shoulder, and she held the back of his neck with a dirty hand, and they stayed like that for a long time. 2 years later, Eliza Bennet stood on the porch of the ranch house with a child on her hip. A girl with her grandmother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin, and Tommy Aldridge rode up the drive with the mail and a letter from the federal land office in Helen saying that the Harper acreage outside Bozeman had been formally deeded in her name for the second time because Walter Kane's estate had finally been fully dissolved and the matter was now closed. Eliza read the letter twice. Then she folded it. Then she walked into the kitchen, and she put it in the drawer with her mother's sewing basket, the basket with the cut lining that had held a deed for 3 months in a dying woman's last act of defiance. And she shut the drawer and she turned to her husband, who was at the table with his coffee, and she said the only thing there was left to say. "Cole." "Yes, ma'am." "My mother was not wrong." "About what?" "About a woman with a gun being a woman with options. But I think she would tell me now if she could that a woman without a gun can have options too. A woman can have a name. A woman can have land. A woman can have a porch and a husband who does not own her, and a daughter who will never have to run, and those are options my mother never had, and I have, and I am going to spend the rest of my life making sure my daughter knows that what she is worth is not decided by any man, any paper, any town, or any stepfather. It is decided by her, only her, always her." Cole set his coffee down. He stood up. He walked over to her and he put his hand on the back of their daughter's small head and he looked at his wife and he said, "Then that is what we will teach her." "Yes." "Every day." "Every day, Cole." "Yes, ma'am." And Eliza Bennet, who had once been Eliza Harper, who had once been a bruised girl hiding behind a barn with a rusted nail in her bleeding hand, stood in the kitchen of her own home, on her own land, with her own child in her arms, and her own husband at her side. And she understood finally the one thing that had taken her 25 years to learn. A person's worth is not given by a father, or taken by a stepfather, or granted by a husband, or decided by a town, or measured by a preacher, or owned by any man who ever drew breath on this earth. A person's worth is her own. It was hers when she was bleeding. It was hers when she was running. It was hers when she was burning a house to the ground with a match in her hand. And it is hers now, and it will be hers tomorrow. And it will be hers the day she puts her own daughter on a horse and teaches her how to ride away from any man who ever tries to tell her otherwise. That is the truth Eliza Harper learned behind a barn in the summer of her 23rd year. And she carried it with her unbroken for the rest of her long and free and well-loved life.